Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Stuff About Money podcast. I am your co host, Erik Garcia, and this is a special mini series that I am recording with a guest co host, a friend of mine, Billy Wagner. Don't worry, y'all, Xavier is still with me. Billy owns an insurance agency down in Florida, and we wanted to explore this idea that insurance professionals are givers. My fifth pillar to building financial security is give to others. And Billy and I wanted to have engaging conversations with a diverse group of insurance professionals to hear their journeys of how they're creating legacies for their families and leaving a meaningful impact in their communities through generous acts. And we do all of that in under 12 minutes with each of our guests. So listen in and prepare to be inspired.
We are so excited to have this next guest on with us to talk about giving. She is no stranger in the insurance industry. She's a leader. She's a perfect example of giving back, has many, many locations, and she resides in Kansas City. So we're excited to have you, Vonda, on the program, and we look forward to talking to you.
Yeah, and actually, I don't reside in Kansas City. I think you have me confused with my Kansas City Chiefs that I continually try to push. Even though I'm not a Swiftie, so I'm kind of falling behind on that whole thing. But yeah, I'm actually outside of Manhattan, Kansas, but close enough. So
Okay.
I was
Close
actually going to
enough.
ask, as a Chiefs fan, can you get Taylor Swift's signature for my daughter?
jeez. Yeah, I'm just glad the last game they started focusing on football and not so much the paparazzi. So anyway.
I was trying to
Yeah.
watch the game. I was trying to watch the game, and my daughter wanted the TV. I'm like, but this is the team that Taylor Swift's boyfriend plays for, and she was totally at that point. She was totally engaged. So whatever it takes, man, it's beautiful.
That's
It's
right.
beautiful.
That's
All
right.
right,
So we are
Billy,
so
kick us
excited
off.
again to
Yeah.
have you, and wanted to kick it off and just ask you, what has been your inspiration and motivation to have the giving spirit that you have?
I think a lot of it was I was kind of raised in that kind of environment. My mom was very much a person that was always looking for opportunities for that. So I think that what my grandmother was that way. I remember making sunshine boxes when I was 8 years old with my grandmother. So I think that obviously makes it first and foremost in your mind. But I also think too that a part of being successful in business, if you're doing it right, is figuring out how you can help others, as gratitude for your success. And I think that's a very important component for me anyway, as far as the giving part.
Tell us about those sunshine boxes.
My grandmother was in a couple of groups, and anytime there was a shut-in, they would do a sunshine box where they would wrap a box up with wrapping paper, and everybody that was in their little group would bring something. And it didn't even have to be a lot. It could be a pair of socks or a handkerchief or a box of crackers or something like that, and everybody would wrap it. And then the person that was either a shut-in or had experienced something where they were all trying to rally around, they would have this sunshine box, and they would all each open up one gift, or the person would open up a gift once a day. And so it would be something that would continue for them, and it was just something to bring them joy. And that was just something that had a huge impact on me, enough that I kind of continued it with my own kids when they were in school. There would be some times when we might have a church member that was going through cancer or something like that. So we kind of do the same thing. And my daughter's in her 30s, and she was living out in California for like 10 years, and she would continue it out there, which was amazing to me. It's just kind of a generational.
We've actually seen that, Billy, and Vaughn, in a lot of our conversations with people, is there's this legacy
Mhm.
of giving that most people have learned by example.
Yeah.
And then those of us with kids, we want our kids to learn how to give. And there's this amazing um, legacy there. I remember my grandma; she'd go to the old folks' home. She's like 80 years old at this point. She'd go to the old folks' home and bring newspaper clippings and crossword puzzles and things along I guess things that you'd put in a sunshine box, and
Yeah.
people
Bingo
would light
prizes.
up. Yeah,
Bingo prizes for the nursing home. Yeah.
people
Did
would
that.
light up. Vonda, can you share maybe some causes that you support or things that are personally meaningful to you today? Outside of you talked a little bit about the sunshine boxes, but outside of that, what are some other things that just kind of tug at your heart?
Well, probably the first nonprofit that I was very involved in um, was Crime Stoppers, our local Crime Stoppers. And that one it's an odd nonprofit to be involved in, but some of the people that know me really well know that this mom that I'm referencing, I lost her in my 30s because she was murdered in a bank robbery in a very small town. So it was a very traumatic event. And our local Crime Stoppers obviously was very involved in that. They came out and I was involved in shooting the video for that. And our family was very, very cognizant of the fact that in anything like this that happens, somebody always knows something. And so after the trial and after the dust had kind of settled, I was asked to be a part of the Crime Stoppers board. And that really, number one, I think it helped me heal, knowing that I was trying to fulfill that purpose for somebody else to have that platform where tips could be given anonymously and to be able to continue that. And so that was very passionate for me for very odd reasons, not normally why you get involved, but I think a lot of times sometimes people get involved in nonprofits as a result of tragedy as well. But then that kind of led me also to be involved in the foster teens. We have I'm a huge supporter. I'm on the board of the foster teen camp group that's here, and we hold camps every summer, specifically for teens that either have been in or are currently in foster care. I personally teach the life skills for the kids that are getting ready to age out, the 16 to 18-year-olds. So I'm extremely passionate about that. When I go into that, it's only 4 days. You're trying to pack as much as you can in 4 days with these kids and giving them resources. But it's so it's like you're on a time crunch because you just know you have such a small amount of time, and it's just so important. So it's very intense for me. I've been trying to prepare for that. But I think being involved with the foster teens also allowed me to heal from my own trauma with what I went through with my mom. Because when you go through this with the teens, they're suffering from something that was completely out of their control. People that are supposed to have been taking care of them in life didn't. Either they didn't, they neglected them, or they were possibly involved in illegal activities. They were possibly involved in sexual abuse, either by a family member or being, sexually abused by a friend of the family. Sometimes it was done for monetary reasons. I mean, the stories are just horrendous. And they come in with a lot of anger. And anybody that deals with a trauma has a lot of anger. And for me, I kind of understand that because my family went through a trauma for something that we had absolutely no control over. But you have to get to a point where the anger isn't the focus, that the peacefulness is the focus.
Mm.
The focusing on what you can control and how you can make things better for yourself and their role in their own healing sometimes. And they have to let that go. And as hard as it is to work with some of their stories, because they are horrible, you have to also let go of that anger and realize I have to help them let go of that, because if the anger is all that drives them throughout their life, it just doesn't go well. The ones that can accept what happened and say, okay, I want a different ending for my story. That's, to me, one kid at a time. To do that is it's one of the most important things I feel like I do in life. And I think it's helped me find balance in my own life too. You realize there's just a lot of things worse in life than the copy machine going down, or somebody resigning, or whatever can happen during your day at the office. You're just like, yeah, it's perspective. I
Mm.
just have such a different perspective because of my work with that, I feel. So not to mention the fact that I just feel like if there's one kid at a time, then you can put them on a better path, then you're leaving it better than you found it. And to me, that's my mantra. I really want to make sure that I have left this world better than I found it.
Well,
Somebody did that for me.
you've absolutely done that from based on my observations. You're doing that a lot. And it's, that has been a theme also with this process is sometimes tragedy
Mhm.
pulls somebody into a passion. And myself included, that happened with me, pulled me into an organization. And I think it's because you feel so helpless at the time and you need to do something to kind of pull yourself out of it. And you articulated that very well, kind of that process and why you have that passion. Um, I think people are going to really enjoy hearing that part of your story. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, I feel
Uh,
a very big responsibility. I've accomplished things in life and been successful at a I think a higher level, to the point where I have a responsibility to be able to do things with that success. And that to me, that's a part of it.
yeah, I love that. So tell us something that was unexpected, that you experienced as a result of your giving that you weren't anticipating.
Well, to be quite honest, the foster teen camp actually started as an insurance client. And so in the very beginning, for the first few years, I donated money. I thought they had a great cause, but I donated money. Um, I wasn't really very involved. And then one of the agent that had written the account, he says, I think you should come out here, and spend some time. I think you should volunteer as a support staff, things like that. And it was just shocking, the difference. Um, to give money is one thing, to be involved in it and see where it goes and see the need and see things that actually can be directed into specific paths. I was totally taken back by how hard it gripped my heart. When we were in those camps, it's just really hard. It's just like there's nothing I wouldn't do for those kids. And I was not expecting that level of it gripping me like that. So
Yeah, I think that's
and I wasn't expecting it to heal my heart. I went in there thinking I was just going to help them. Had no idea the amount that I would be getting back.
yeah, giving money is important, obviously, because money has to. You need money to move things, right? But money sometimes can insulate us from entering into people's pain. And I think you said this beautifully. When you enter into people's pain, that's where you start to see some real change. Not only for the people that you're sitting there listening to, but for yourself as well. So like that's I'm thinking about different ways of different organizations that I'm a part of. Like, how have I not entered into maybe those people's pain? And we can't obviously do it for everyone. Um, but I'm sitting here thinking like, man, what do I need to change about maybe some of the things that I'm a part of. A big part of this series that Billy and I are setting out to do is obviously we want to highlight your story, but we want to give ideas and inspire other people to engage their community, engage their employees, engage the people that they interact with to change not only the lives of those people but their own lives. What's some advice that um, you would give someone who wants to be more involved but maybe not really sure, who do I support? How do I get involved? What's the next step? Give us some wisdom, Vonda.
Well, we have a kind of foundation that is in this community that does a really good job of highlighting different foundations and groups and nonprofits. So what I always tell people is, here's a list of 100 nonprofits in this area. What kinds of things appeal to you? I have, one person on staff that she is completely into the veterans hospital, collecting things for the veterans. We do that at Christmas time with our agency. She does it all year long. And she does that to honor her dad. And it's just something that speaks to her. So I feel like if it doesn't speak to you, it's going to be a burden and not something that it's going to be a passion. I have had nonprofits that I was part of, and I wasn't into their mission. I didn't always see the pathway, and those are not where I should spend my time. Somebody needs to spend the time there that is more passionate and can further their mission. But I really feel like you need to look at something where you believe in the mission, you believe you can make a difference, and that there's a need for that. And so going to the, like, if there's a nonprofit foundation, we have a funding mechanism that where they do like a match day in April and things like that, and there's like about 100 nonprofits on there. So there's pretty much something for everyone. And so that's where I would, I always tell people that say, hey, I would like to kind of volunteer on some things. And I'm like, okay, well, here's a list of the people that were, a part of this. What kind of things, what kind of things draw your attention to it as something that you would be involved in?
Yeah, I think too, there's that intentionality. But
Mhm.
sometimes we're so busy, we have so much going on, especially as business owners with our business, with our families. There's sometimes we got to stop long enough and be intentional long enough to say, hey, what's important to me? What are my passions? What drives me? What good do I want to see done? Because if not, it's the same thing with money decisions. We're gonna wake up 20 years from now and be like, I wish I would have gotten more involved in X, Y, and Z. Because now I see how little contributions of my time could have huge compounding effects in the lives of people.
Well, and our local chamber has a young people's group. They call it a hype group. That's just their name. I was really excited a few months ago. They actually did a session where they brought in nonprofits and they talked about, how to get involved in a nonprofit, what types of positions can you work on, and what does it mean to be on a board of a nonprofit, what are typical responsibilities, things like that. And they had different people come in that represented nonprofits, and I think that was really good because for younger people, they don't know how to get involved in it. They're sometimes kind of scared of the time commitment. They don't always know the right questions to ask and things like that. So I think if, as business leaders, if we have like a chamber group or some group that has access to like younger people that are already meeting together, in a different group, then it's really our responsibility to make sure that they are versed in exactly what you said, how to get involved, how to choose, how much time commitment, how to determine how much time you have to give. And when you're starting out like that, maybe you don't have a lot of money to give, but you have time. And sometimes that's more important than the money.
Vonda, this is awesome. If we all leave the world a little bit better than how we found it, what an amazing place this would be. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you for
All
your
right. No,
example.
thanks, guys. I love this series. What a great concept. So excited to see it all.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, Vonda.
All right.
Take care.